There are few timelines that are sealed away from the rest of all that is. Places that are so dangerous that even chaos and order agree to seal it away. Grave is one of those timelines. Even Grandfather Death will not allow travel to or from Grave. But we are allowed to collect information and to peer through one-day windows into their world. The caution is abundant. Even seers who seek to see what lie there know that if there is even a chance of 11th plague being carried, that they will be annihilated by the full force of Grandfather Death. Still, though, seers are curious, as is Grandfather Death, so this is one of many stories collected. What makes this story so exceptional isn't how exceptional it is, but in how common it is. Seers like Ezra don't peer through dimensional tears or windows. How they view other dimensions are through the senses of their alters, other versions of themselves in other timelines, universes, and dimensions. A theoretically infinite number of senses and minds they can connect with. But even though that number is infinite, it isn't in every timeline, and as time continues, eventually every altar dies, whittling down the sights the seers can see from infinite down to one. So when we describe Ezra's story, please understand it is with a description of the senses of another, one that Ezra had no control of, but who Ezra had access to for thoughts and feelings of. I am in line. Concrete barriers surround me on both my left and right. Above me, I can see a chain-link ceiling that shows a gray sky. I cannot tell if it is dawn, dusk, or noon. I am nearly certain that the clouds are ash. The ash floats down like snow, sprinkling on us and the concrete. I can feel disgust from the ash. The ash isn't normal wood ash, nor is it the radioactive ash of eruption. The ash is human remains. So many died and were burned that the skies were a cloudy haze. And even though I am disgusted by the ash, I don't bother trying to wipe it off. The ash is everywhere. There is nowhere to wipe it off, and even if I could remove the remains, there would be more to take its place. I take a step forward with the line and feel a pang of relief. I am closer to the front, closer to salvation. I can feel hope as I can finally read the sign. It is green metal sign, similar to those used by highway signs, but clearly custom made. The ash makes it appear faded, and a few bullet holes in the sign make it clear that it has been here for a while. Prepare for testing. Now entering National City Quarantine Zone. Below it, written in orange paint, is something clearly added by the soldiers. Calm equals life. Panic equals death. I feel my breath catch as I stand up straighter. My eyes were drawn to the backpack of the person ahead of me. I can see she has a bottle of water on the side of the backpack, almost completely full. I become aware of how dry my mouth is. I am aware of how easily I could grab her bottle. I cannot make my altar move. I cannot speak to them. I am only aware of what they feel and what they are thinking. But we are in agreement. Do not touch the bottle ahead of me. They see the water bottle and they consider theft. They haven't drank anything all day. Their water bottle ran dry yesterday and was thrown away soon after. Just dead weight in a dead city. The soldiers that walk up and down the line aren't there for helping people. They're there for keeping order. Resources are scarce, and they aren't going to waste something as precious as water on someone who might be infected. And while in line, I am Schrodinger's cat. I am infected, so I am not worth wasting resources on. But I am also not infected, so I am not worth a bullet on. As long as my coin remains flipped and turning in the air, I am safe. But if I am dumb enough to try and steal water, I think back to earlier in the line. Someone shoved someone else in line. Not very hard, but hard enough to push them out of line. Then, almost as if by magic, the soldiers appeared, wearing hazardous materials uniforms and in gas masks that looked like something from the Great War. Both men held their hands above their heads. The soldiers still deemed them both too great a risk. Aggression is one of the symptoms, and if one attacked the other, then they were both infected. One for pushing and one for being pushed. A no-win scenario like those fights in middle school, where the school considers a victim as much a problem as the bully. I wonder for a second what happened to my teachers, and I also think back to my bully, and I could feel the sour notes of anger when my alter hopes that their bully is burned up in a crematorium. Then my thoughts go back to the people I saw in line earlier. Bullets are precious, water more so. So it was easier to put a bullet through both of their hearts. We had to keep standing in line as the soldiers dragged the bodies away to one of National City's crematoriums, working 24/7 now. The bodies have to be burned, and they have to be burned quickly. Leaving even a single cell intact was too much of a risk. The line moves forward, and a soldier walks up the line, and I straighten my back again and keep staring forward, trying not to think about the water just centimeters ahead of me, just in front of my eyes. The soldier behind his gas mask glances at all of us, looking for any clear signs of infection. The gray rash, the red eyes, aggression, confusion, anything that might spot the 11th plague before it became contagious. I hope that the ash on my skin doesn't look like a rash. I hope that I haven't been crying too long. I hope that my face doesn't look too aggressive. And I hope that my eyes don't look confused. Our first signs are identical to the signs of just surviving in National City. So this would mean the soldiers could target us for any reason, or no reason at all. I wonder for a moment if everyone else in the line has the same thought as me, or they're just pretending to be calm to be let in, because they know they don't have a choice, or if everyone else in line just has perfect faith in the soldiers. My alter decides that there is no difference between the two. I don't agree with them. The medical screening ahead was for finding symptoms that cannot be spotted nearly as easily as aggression. The soldiers in line are for dealing with the most obviously infected before they get a chance to hurt someone else. I think they are also for keeping us compliant and to keep us from rushing the checkpoint. We had all heard news about the other checkpoints, those destroyed by infection, riot, sabotage, or simply so overwhelmed that the line could last for days. Even having a functioning checkpoint for civilians trying to get underground with the others evacuated feels like a miracle. We all heard the news on the radio. Both the military and Parliament had given up on both Hummingbird and Herald. They were now open battlefields, and anyone who might be uninfected burn along with the infected. And Speaker Hester of the Parliament is very vocal about ending the medical checkpoints and quarantine zones. We barely have the resources to feed and house the population we've already evacuated. We cannot keep evacuating people, he would tell Parliament. But the Prime Minister insisted on medical checkpoints and screenings, saving every person she could, and as wonderful a sentiment that was, the reality was this. A labyrinth of concrete walls, chain link fences, machine guns, and ashen skies, all for the hope of connecting to a doctor to evaluate if you were healthy enough to save, or if you were just another tally in a never-ending obituary. And still, it is better than a government that has completely given up on your existence. And as horrible as it was here, I found myself wondering to what other countries were doing. The Seven Cities Republic had ongoing bounties for the infected. Soldier, police officer, hunter, or any idiot with a gun could kill the infected and collect the bounty from the government. Supposedly, the Seven Cities were testing the bodies to verify infection after death, but there was no way they were testing the bodies. Innocent people hunted down by any idiot with a gun who could get paid to do so. The Triple Alliance to the south were quarantining entire districts and cities by building massive walls between each district. Travel was limited, and infected districts were left to fester, with some occasional napalm or white phosphorus to keep them from spreading outside the districts. Yet infection was still spreading with ease across the Triple Alliance. There was the Great Fleet in Sealy, dozens of countries working together to build millions of boats to house billions of people. Except no real effort was being made to keep the infected from interfering with the construction of the fleet or from spreading across the boats. And that was before all of the logistical issues of trying to keep billions of people alive on boats. And all of that was paradise compared to the northern forest. I shudder just thinking about the northern forest. The League of Nations lay a buffer of napalm 100 kilometers wide along the edges of the northern forest, anything to keep the infection from spreading. If there are any rangers, people, or even plants left in the northern forest, they have no way of getting help now. Every other piece of news I hear from other countries is vastly contradictory and makes no sense. Some countries claiming to be free of infection in one breath, and in the next are so full of infected that the only living are hiding in bunkers. Their governments are expertly handling the crisis so well that they are already planning on helping backwards countries like the Sunset Republic. Or their governments are so corrupt that people are turning to organized crime, cartels, terrorist organizations, or worst of all, corporations, for safety. Somehow, the contradictory news makes it feel worse than even the northern forest. Because then the news was both better than I hoped and worse than I hoped. And then there was the possibility that it was far worse than the rumors we heard. I am just before the front of the line now. We turn one last time, and now the woman in front of me stands before the gate. The last gate before the medical checkpoint. Below the glow of the UV lamps, everything feels unreal. Ahead of the woman ahead of me, I can finally see the doctors who would be testing our health. They are dressed in the same armored hazmat suits as the soldiers, but with sterile white rather than the soldiers' green. Behind their masks, they look more like angry insects than people. The UV lights buzz brighter in the checkpoint before they dim, sterilizing the checkpoint, I think. In normal conditions, they wouldn't risk exposing people to lights like these, but now the risk of infection today was a far greater risk than blindness or skin cancer tomorrow. The light turns green above the door as it opens, and the woman steps forward, settling her pack on the table next to the scanner. I step forward as well. I am behind the door, looking at her through the chains of the door. She stands in the scanner. The gray scanner resembles those in an airport. As she raises her hands and the machine whirs. The screen is hidden from us while the doctors go over the screen. Her pack is x-rayed as they look over those contents as well. Now she is scanned and her bag is as well. The doctors step forward. One points a thermometer gun at her head and read the results. Another doctor has her open her mouth and swabs the inside of her mouth, taking the Q-tip and mixing it with a vial of clear liquid, watching the liquid turn blue before throwing it away into a biohazard bin. Now satisfied with their results, they point her to one of the gates. There are two gates. One leads to the subway heading north, the other leads to the subway heading south. She heads to the subway heading north, carrying her pack with her. A soldier in a green hazmat suit follows her. I watch as she walks away, both dread and hope in her steps as she is escorted out of view. Then after a few minutes, the soldier returns. When the soldier returns, the UV lights brighten for a moment before the light turns green, and I am allowed to enter. I have no pack with me, not anymore. It got too heavy to carry, and there was no water left for my water bottle. My lips are cracked and crackle as I stand in the scanner. My arms are up as the machine whirs. The doctors consult my screen. I see one doctor point at something in the screen, and they call over another doctor to see what was on the screen. And just as suddenly as they are called over, they left the screen, and other doctors are called over to test me. The thermometer gun was pointed at my head and examined as a doctor wrote down the results. Wait, they didn't write down any results for the woman before me. Was that a good thing? Was it a bad thing? It was different, and difference meant that my coin was landing on a different side than the woman before me, and I have no idea if that was good or bad. A doctor tries to swab my mouth, but my mouth is too dry. There was nothing they could swab in my mouth, so after a few seconds of trying, instead they run the Q-tip across my cracked, bleeding lips, collecting blood on the Q-tip and dipping it into the clear liquid. It now turned green. Hers was blue, mine was green. I still had no idea if that was good or bad, but the doctors got their results, and they told me the gate I was going through. The gate for the subway, heading south. The soldier escorts me, walking behind me as I walk down more concrete steps. The soldier's steps behind me feel final, but their gun isn't aimed at me, and I still have a bit of hope. If they were going to kill me, they would do it by now, right? I walk down the subway steps, old advertisements covered by public health notices and graffiti, but it didn't tell me anything one way or the other. I can see the subway train just ahead of me, full of people in their seats, all facing forward, hoping that it led to safety. Still, I risk asking the soldier for something. "Can I get some water, please?" I croaked, and the soldier responded in a gruff voice. "You'll get water when you get there. Don't worry, it won't take longer than 5 minutes," he said as I smiled at his masked face. Behind his mask, I don't know if he is smiling or if he has any facial expression at all. Still, I take my seat in the subway train, looking through the glass to the other train car, those on the northbound train. Everyone is pretending to ignore each other, but glances are made. I could see the woman who is just ahead of me in the car. I stare at her, wondering if she would recognize me. She keeps staring ahead, pretending that our train doesn't exist. Our doors close, and I notice something about the woman in the northbound train. She has a plastic bottle of water in her hand, one with the military symbol on it. I look over all of the others in the northbound train. I can see that almost everyone has a bottle of water or a granola bar in their hands. When I look in my car, I see no one eating nor drinking anything, especially not military-issued rations. As our trains pull away from each other, I suddenly become aware of the hissing in the air vents, the buzz of the lights above me, the clank of the wheels beneath the train, the warmth of the people in the train, the smell of stale sweat and fear, the bitter taste of almonds on my tongue, and the faded poster of a sunset over the beach with faded words beneath it. Out of many, one. The motto of the Sunset Republic over a picture of one of our most famous beaches.